Member Gamera.
Here.
Member Marquis, here in a few minutes. Member McKendry.
Here.
Member Russell. Yes. Prior notice. Member Snowman. Here. Member Wallace. Here. And Chair Lemieux. Here.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for the audience as well. Objectives for this evening are to understand the North Shore Water Reclamation District plans for the storage basin project in Lake Bluff and how it would impact the erosion projects that we're looking at. And also to discuss the prioritization of the erosion projects and hopefully include preliminary ranking. Our next meeting will discuss funding options. We had hoped to take a bite out of that this time, but it's taking a little longer to gather the information to make intelligent decisions. So, then I meant to bring this last time. It's a book called The Death and Life of the Great Lakes by a guy named Dan Egan, who actually spoke at the Lake Bluff Library. It's a very good book. Chapter 9 in particular deals exactly with the issues we're wrestling with. So, good book. At this time, we allow comments from the audience on items that are not on the agenda. Any of those? As we did last time, we'll take comments from the audience at the end of each section. For the moment, we won't impose time limits unless we need to. We ask you to be succinct. Okay. Next is we will take suggestions to change the order of the meeting. All right, so I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the November 12th meeting.
I do know that George, Member Marquis had some comments. Basically asked, let's see, on page 5 of the minutes, I was the member that asked the question about the time frame for the project. Please make the change that Member Marquis asked at the beach.
Okay.
So,
A motion to approve the minutes as with the suggested amendment.
so moved.
Second.
By David, second by Corey. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is presentation by North Shore Water Reclamation District about the sewage storage basin project, and I'd ask Drew to make the introductions.
Great. Now, Ron, give Ron one little tee up first.
Yeah, just really quick. So, first, we know it's been difficult to schedule, so we'll try to do the same thing next time. And so Drew and I appreciate you attending, and as well as the audience. Tonight, we will be receiving a presentation from the North Shore Water Reclamation District regarding the project proposed in 2013. Over the next month, a Park District, Village, and Committee representative, Drew and I, would like to schedule a meeting with the North Shore Water Reclamation District regarding just all funding options. So it's important tonight that we just focus, if we can, related to the project, time frame, and integration of any potential improvements in the report related to the North Shore Water Reclamation District. So Bill Weaver will be here. His train was a little delayed, but he'll be here in another 5-10 minutes. So you're aware of that.
So the North Shore Water Reclamation people didn't bring their wallets.
No. Starts the first step.
That is.
About the North Shore Water Reclamation District. It's a municipal body dedicated to the beneficial reuse of water resources while protecting Lake Michigan, local waterways, and the environment through sustainable and fiscally responsible wastewater reclamation practices. The North Shore Water Reclamation District owns and operates 3 major water reclamation facilities. One's located at Gurnee, the other in Waukegan, and the final one's in Highland Park. And they have over 100 miles of intercepting sewer lines. They have 10 pumping stations which collect and convey wastewater from local sewer systems to their reclamation facilities. Additional North Shore Water Reclamation District facilities include a biosolids recycling facility in Zion, administration building and laboratory in Gurnee, and a maintenance building in Waukegan. NSWRD is governed by an elected board of trustees, one of which is here today. Thank you for not being here. They have the full powers to tax and enact necessary rules within the boundaries of the district that are the Wisconsin border on the north side, Lake Cook Road on the south, Lake Michigan on the east, and I-94 toll road on the west. Brian Bourne is also here along with his deputy director. Brian has been with NSWRD since Lake Michigan was created from the glaciers, I believe, right? How many years? Decades? Three plus?
3 decades.
Yeah. Has been, started off as an engineer with the district and worked his way up to current general manager. And I think that's it. Did I miss anything? Tom, you want to?
Well, thank you. I don't know if I need to go to the podium. My name is Tom Swarta. I'm a trustee of the fourth ward of the North Shore Water Reclamation District. We're happy to be here tonight. A little background about me. I was born and raised in Lake Forest. I'm still there. But just like you, I was chairman of our park board for 5 years and became an alderman. In fact, I was the alderman when facility in Lake Forest was put in, one that similar being proposed here in Lake Bluff. I've been on trustee of the district for about 7 years now. In fact, recently I was on the park restoration committee that did Forest Park in Lake Forest, so very involved with the water fountain in Lake Forest. And delighted to be here. I'll let Brian take the presentation. This is a project that we actually had proposed a number of years ago, and for whatever reason didn't proceed. But I think we're happy to collaborate. I think that's the best way we can move forward. All the different entities. North Shore Water Reclamation District up until the last year had no debt. We were very proud of the fact that we do a great job managing our funds. I always used to attribute it to the fact that it's run by engineers who aren't politicians, who would never spec a 5-horse pump when a 3-horse pump could do the job. And that's the way we've always operated. We'll always continue to do that in the future. So with that, I'd like to introduce Brian. Thanks, Tom.
And Tom does mention at our meetings, it's hard for engineers to put 2 sentences together, so I'll do my best.
It's not a character file.
Dave Miller is the deputy executive director, and he's got the checkbook, so. But yeah, this is a presentation I gave to the Park District Board back in 2013. Not much has changed on the design. Probably the biggest change you'll see is that we are North Shore Water Reclamation District. When we celebrated our 100th anniversary in 2014, we changed our name from Sanitary District to Water Reclamation District, recognizing the fact that in our industry that it's more of a resource recovery process than just wastewater treatment. Our effluent can be used for beneficial purposes. In Highland Park, the North Fork Country Club uses our effluent for irrigation purposes. Drew mentioned we have a biosolids recycling facility. That product, which used to be landfill, is now beneficially applied as a agricultural soil amendment in McHenry County. And so we are looking as far as not discharging a waste product, but a resource. So that's kind of the impetus for our name change. But anyway, just real briefly, again, we provide sewage treatment for the east part of Lake County from Wisconsin down to Lake Cook Road. And from the tollway eastward, we also have a service agreement with the County of Lake where we provide sewage treatment services for Grays Lake and Western Gurney, those areas. We have over 300,000 customers within our service area. We're the second largest district in the state of Illinois, behind the Water Reclamation District in Chicago. Again, we own and operate 3 sewage treatment water reclamation facilities with a combined design capacity of 63.4 million gallons per day. We currently treat about 55 million gallons of wastewater a day. I should mention we have our facility in Waukegan is located at the lakefront. However, the effluent is pumped and discharged to the Des Plaines River, as well as our plant in Highland Park is discharged to the Skokie River. So none of our treated wastewater actually is discharged into Lake Michigan, which is kind of odd because all our neighboring states have less stringent treatment limits than we do in Illinois, but yet they discharge to Lake Michigan, but we do not. So it's kind of a odd feature. Yeah, that's our service area there, basically the area east of that purplish line. And, okay. Yeah, just a real brief history. When the district was formed, centuries, ages ago, basically what the district did is construct a number of small treatment plants in the lakefront communities, North Chicago, Lake Bluff, Lake Forest, Highland Park. Those plants were located right on the lakefront and did discharge the effluent, which by today's standards would still be considered raw sewage, directly to Lake Michigan. As the technology of wastewater treatment changed, got a lot better, and with the passage of the Clean Water Act, we regionalized our facilities to the 3 plants we have today, and all of our lakefront plants were essentially converted into pumping stations, because the sewers are already went to the lowest point of gravity, which is at the lakefront. So our pumping stations in each of the communities essentially treat the wastewater. For instance, in Lake Bluff, the sewage east of Green Bay Road, which is the Continental Divide, is tributary to our pumping station at the lakefront and is then pumped to our plant in Highland Park. And that happened in 1970, where the treatment plant was converted to a pumping station. And as I mentioned, it serves basically the village east of Green Bay Road. We don't own the property. I think our pumping station facility is situated on a 200 by 200 foot parcel that is leased to us by the village. And I believe the Park District owns the property around that parcel. The average pumping flow from that plant is just under 500,000 gallons per day. And there's a picture of the site, and that area is essentially the leased property that North Shore has with the village. We've got the main pumping station right here, and we've got some ancillary buildings. We have a standby generator situated there. We do have 2 power feeds from ComEd, which is what's required by the EPA. Those power feeds from ComEd are not very reliable. Usually if one goes out, both go out. So we did add a generator, and I think I've got some slides that explain that. But so we do have redundancy on top of redundancy for our electrical power to the station.
Brian, I don't mean to interrupt, but how many gallons of water would we treat on a really rainy day?
Well, I'll use our Clayview Road plant in Highland Park. The normal flow is 14 to 15 million gallons per day. On a really wet day, we'll get over 100 million gallons of water to that plant. And our permits allow so much through the plant. When that capacity is exceeded, we have storage basins, retention basins at each of our plants that hold the water. I think Clayview's is about 25, 28 million gallons capacity. Gurney has a 50 million gallon capacity. Waukegan is about 30 million, but any excess flow beyond what we're able to biologically treat goes through those basins. If they do fill up, we have permits to disinfect and discharge that water. So, and that's an issue we have been working with the communities. A lot of the sewers date back to the turn of the century. They're old. They get a lot of wet weather, storm water. There's a lot of issues with sump pumps, road drains, things like that connected to. So that's a challenge that we struggle with as well as other wastewater agencies. Just some of the projects we've done at the Lake Pumping Station. In 2000, that facility was automated. It was never a fully manned facility, but we're able to, through SCADA system, see this ad, so that pumping station, we can control pumps. We did that as in conjunction with an automation of our wastewater treatment plants. Back in 2000, we used to have at each of our plants 4 operators with 3 shifts, so 12 operators per plant. And when the automation was put into effect, we were able to, through attrition, to reduce our operations staff. We're now at each of our plants, we have 2 operators that work 8 hours a day. The plants are unmanned in the evening and on weekends, so it saved the district and its ratepayers a tremendous amount of money with the attrition that the automation afforded us. I mentioned the standby power generator we added in 2003. That is a 2 megawatt diesel generator. It does start automatically in case ComEd loses both feeds to the station. We upgraded pump drives in 2006. Basically replaced inefficient variable speed drives with more state-of-the-art type drives on our pumps, which save the electrical costs and provide more reliability. We added odor control facilities to that pumping station in 2011, so I don't believe we've had any odor complaints from that facility since that was enacted. One thing that was added, that's not on the slide since the 2013 presentation, is a force main inspection. That is a station that continually pumps raw sewage to our treatment plant. We can't take that force main out of service for any inspection. The technology changed recently whereby we can put a device inside the force main while it's pumping. And that can tell us if there's any leaks in the pipe. It also gives us an indication of the structural integrity of that pipe. So we did that in 2015, and the good news is the force main passed. There are no leaks in it, and structurally the force main is in good shape. So that was something that we plan to do on a 5-year basis through all our district force mains. Benefits, why did we pursue this sewage storage basin in the first place? The main issue was reduce the potential for sewage overflows to Lake Michigan. We've had, as of 2013, we had 9 overflows since 1994. We did have an overflow in September of 2018, and I think every one of these overflows except one was due to the loss of power from ComEd. Now, in the most recent situation, our generator started, but there was a mechanical issue with the automatic transfer switch that transfers the station load from ComEd to our facility. We're actually in the process of upgrading that to a more current technology. So you can see from the projects we've done, North Shore is very conscious, wants to be a good neighbor, and environmentally do everything we can to eliminate or reduce sewage overflows to Lake Michigan. So that was one project that, with the basin, that would really add some added measure of relief. Another thing is, I mentioned we can't take that force main out of service. It's continually pumping sewage. If there would be an issue if a pipe broke or like a water main, pipe broke or something, we have nowhere to go with the sewage. You can't turn off the pumping station, so it's a pretty tough situation to be in. So having a basin at the site would allow us to take that force main out of service. It would be a relief valve, so to speak, to divert the sewage to so that we could do repairs. As I mentioned, we are able to inspect the force main with new technology, but right now it's a force main that has to be in service continually. There's not a second pipe, so if that pipe breaks or fails for any reason, we have to fix it as soon as possible and minimize the environmental damage as a result. We also had some aesthetic improvements that we had contemplated along with the construction of the basin. One was the generator enclosure. If you've been down there, you know there's just a cyclone type fence around that generator, and we looked at putting more aesthetically pleasing type of enclosure around there. We also have the, on the site we lease, the yacht club has their boat storage facilities there. That's actually where the basin was intended to go, so the thought was to build a, maybe a nicer looking boat storage facility that would go back in the same place. And then the access road, our plan was to also restore the roadway. We would anticipate with construction traffic that would be a good idea to do at the end of the project. So those were some of the benefits. In the basin itself, it's about a 1 million gallon, the low grade concrete basin. It's probably 25 to 30 feet deep below the ground level. And you might ask why 1 million gallons? The design feature was to design a basin that during normal dry weather flow, we could hold 2 days of sewage in that facility, which is about 26.8 million gallons. So 2 days would afford us enough time if the force main was an issue or for any plant outages that we thought 2 days was a pretty good cushion to be able to store the sewage. The basin would be connected to the existing odor control system, so there wouldn't be a source of odors associated with that facility. I mentioned the generator, enclosure improvements, the access road, the boathouse, miscellaneous landscaping improvements. I know we've talked to the park district on aesthetics and wanting to be a good neighbor, and we understand the value of the beach and the lakefront to the residents here. Back in 2013, the estimated cost was $7.7 million. That's probably closer to $9 million at this point. The project currently is not in our current budget or in our 5-year budget outlay that we look at. It's identified as a future project, and we've got the design probably is 95% complete on the facility. So if there is movement to move this project forward, we more than likely seek financial assistance through the IETA loan program. They offer wastewater facilities an attractive loan package for larger projects. So that would probably be the avenue that we would pursue since we don't have the money budgeted right now to do this project. And
Brian, we just did a bond offering from the EPA. What was that interest rate?
we had 4 projects. 2 of them are at 1.8% for 20 years, and the other 2 are at 2%. So basically, it's free money. So it's something we plan to take advantage of for a lot of our projects going forward too.
What can be included in those projects? So is it just related to you, or is it?
It has to be related to wastewater improvements. This project would certainly be eligible.
And the protection of that facility, I'm sure.
Protection of that.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that would cover that. So.
Yeah, just real briefly, again, here's our lease site. Here's the boat storage facility. This is where the underground basin would go. So that was that's where the design is based on. When we first looked north and south, I think this worked out best for everybody to site the facility there. Again, as everybody is probably familiar, this is just looking south from our pumping station to the site where the basin would be located. Here's the generator enclosure I talked about. Again, very attractive and something we certainly look to upgrade as well. We did, as Tom mentioned, we did build a facility in Lake Forest that was constructed in 2007, or it started in 2007, was completed in 2009. That's a 2 million gallon basin. The total cost of that facility back in 2009 was about $8.3 million. So I just got some pictures that show the facility being constructed. Again, it's the same concept. It's below grade. This was actually put below the parking lot, so we ended up repaving the parking lot. This gives you an idea of the depth again, it would be about half of this, but depth-wise, it would be similar.
Brian, point out the men in the bottom of the basin so they can get an idea of the height of the.
Yeah, here's two guys in there, so it's about 30 feet deep. It's got separate chambers in it, so the whole basin doesn't fill up. If we just burp, say, 20 gallons of sewage into that, we don't have to clean the whole thing. And it's actually a self-cleaning type structure where wastewater builds up on one end, and there's gates that actually release, so it actually acts to wash the grit and sewage to the other end, where it is then pumped back to our pumping station when there's capacity available.
Brian, was the construction access from land? Or from
Yes,
the-
it was from the land. What they did is they closed down the south road to the beach. I think they closed off, I think they didn't issue boat permits for 1 year. And there were some other improvements. We worked with the city, we looped their water main down there, they needed to loop their water main, so that was done in conjunction. It was probably a year and a half of construction, but yeah, everything was from the land.
There was one boating season that was lost. So it started in the fall, completed the following spring, so it was an 18-month project.
Were people still allowed to use the beach while that was going on, or no, like, there's no?
No.
No, they used to be.
They could use
They couldn't drive it, but they could walk.
Yeah.
Here's just another view of the construction. Again, it's depth-wise about 30 feet deep. This is the pumping station right here, and this is the tank. This is the top of the tank. So there's some access manholes to access the tank when we need to get in there. But you can see the top of the structure is actually below the surface of the ground. And this is the fill, granular fill going back in for the parking lot restoration. Again, another picture. This kind of gives you an idea of the size. I think it was 200 feet by 400 feet, something like that. Again, this is 2 million gallons. This is the top of the structure being finished right here. And this is a finished project after the basin was installed. So again, it was installed under a parking lot. We talked to Lake Forest, what was your preference? If you wanted a beach, we could put sand over the structure. Parking lot, with the situation with Lake Bluff, I think the intent was to put the boating facility back on top of it. So, but other than a few access covers which are in the parking lot, it's pretty much out of sight. This is a pumping station right here. So this facility also has odor control. So any sewage that is held in the basin, the odors are treated with activated carbon. No issues there.
So, back question there, so was there any erosion or control or beach work done as part of this project, or is it?
No, there was no beach work done. I know they already have kind of a beach system there, but our project stopped right here, so we didn't really do anything other than tape up through, but we didn't do anything on the lakefront itself.
They just finished some work currently, just off this picture, they were.
To the north, is it?
Yep.
Okay.
They're dropping rock and boulder there recently.
So that was our project, and again, it's something that isn't currently budgeted, but we're very interested. We do have issues with our pumping station with the lake levels and the erosion. We do maintain the parking lot. I think we had some repairs a year or two ago. We had to go in there, I think this last fall, and I think those repairs are already starting to fail. I mean, with the overtopping of the revetment there and everything else, so we're definitely aware of the issues with protecting our infrastructure, and as Tom mentioned, have to do a partner.
Is there any way that the existing facilities that are there, the pumping, that can be also placed subterranean as part of the project?
The pumping station itself, well, the pumps, probably not, because the way that sewage comes in is kind of a picture. Let me go back. Yeah. The sewage is actually coming in up here because it's coming down the Bluff, so it's not actually, the pumps are located below grade, but the sewage actually goes through a bar screen in there. I mean, it would be very difficult and expensive to try and put that whole station beneath grade.
Boston Ivy. That's what you need, Boston Ivy.
Yeah.
Something.
We talked about that, we came up.
Right, and again, there's, aesthetics or something we're aware of, and we'd be happy to look at it if the project would proceed.
Any other questions from the committee?
Just, I'm a little confused, is this a project, you guys clearly, you want to do this project,
Yes,
but you don't have it in your 5-year plan.
right.
So I'm a little, and I sat here in 2013 and listened to this. So I don't really understand what you guys want to do and when.
Well, we were trying to work with the park district on some projects they had on the books at the time to minimize disruption and that type of thing. So we kind of held off and tried to do it jointly, and other projects came up in the interim that we had to do, so we spent the money that we had. It's still a good project. Ultimately, we'd like to do this. It's worked out well in Lake Forest for us. We also have a basin on the lakefront north of Chicago as well, but it just didn't work out with coordination and timing type things, so.
So to add to Bob's question, if somehow the result of this was we decided we've got work to do, we want to work together on this, can it become part of the 5-year project or a 3-year project?
We've talked to our board, we've talked to our board on a regular basis on this project, and, I know Tom supports, I think our board would support it. It's good for the environment. I mean, sewage in Lake Michigan, it's not something we want to see. It doesn't give us any good press, and it certainly helps us with this facility, which was built in the 1970s, if something does happen. I mean, these are all pumping stations, they're mechanical, electrical, things break, things fail, and we've tried to minimize as much as possible the chances for sewage overflows that they do happen. So I think it's a good project that we would be interested in.
I think we would love to collaborate on this project. The president of the district is a former mayor of Highland Park, had the same issues that they've had in Highland Park with erosion, and we've met those challenges, and I know the other board members would be supportive of the project. I think that at the time there was a little, pushback from some in this room about it because it was disruptive to the community access, and I think none of us thought that the lake would reach its level. When I was the chairman of the park board in Lake Forest, we actually authorized the purchase of a dredger because the lake levels were so low. We had to wait for a guy to come in from, I think he would come from Milwaukee to come and dredge all the harbors. We ended up buying a dredger. It's been sitting in the yard for the last 5 years because lake levels had dropped so low. So we wouldn't be in the room if we were in that same condition.
So if you were ready to start on this project, what would be the timing roughly for funding for your?
Funding with an EPA loan is probably an 18-month process to get loan approval right now. The good news is our design is, as I mentioned, about 95% complete, so that could be submitted immediately to EPA to start the process, but probably 18 months.
So the critical path would be funded.
Yes.
I think we'd have to have authorization from the board. Then we would have the engineering that's 90% completed. We would in-house be able to facilitate more engineering because now we have schematics, but we would have to engage in a Donahue or the gentleman, I worked with you on the park access to the beach and on the south access of the lake, of course. I don't know if you recall.
I do, yeah.
The airline or? And then we would go to the EPA for funding. And I think the EPA would certainly support this project.
Yeah, I have no doubt that we'd be approved for funding for project like this.
So a couple years away.
I think you get a check within 12 months. I think you need to wait for the check, or at least get a sense from the EPA that this would be fast-tracked.
We have to first permit the facility with the EPA, which is probably a 6-month process. EPA does a construction permit for the facility. We wouldn't be able to obtain a loan until we have all our permits in place, so that would be the very first step. Is
Okay, so there's 6 months and probably 18 months.
probably
Okay.
2 years, minimum.
2 years probably isn't too reasonable.
But then there's a construction act, if it was to happen, then it's a 18-month construction process.
Yeah, construction itself would definitely be a year and a half.
Is any part of your project dependent upon us doing the work? So if for whatever reason it took this group 4 years to figure out what we wanted to do, we said, or somebody said they're supportive of this,
We could do it, sure.
It's a challenging engineering feat. I mean, the sheet pile on the Lake Michigan go below the water level by 30 feet. And that's essentially what we have to do. We basically got to build a boat to be able to facilitate the construction of the tank itself.
The basin itself is about 30 feet deep, but then there's, Lake Forest, I forget how many piles. We have to drive piles below that just so the structure doesn't float. So those are driven probably 40 to 50 feet, maybe 70 feet, I don't recall, but a lot of piles would have to be driven and then the structure anchored to those piles.
evening work mostly, I think. Yeah, really quiet.
You know, you know, Lake Forest, that neighborhood's pretty challenging. You know, their property values are pretty important there, and we're able to overcome that. I mean, everybody recognized this was a real benefit, and the world doesn't know that structure exists. So I think we're very proud of it. I think it's because of the people in the past who really recognized that the aesthetics were important, and I know they're important in this village. So
Yeah, and they're not very good right now, honestly. So, they're just not. I mean, that's it.
yeah.
Are there any issues?
Well, that's what Lake Forest looked like. It didn't look too dissimilar. Same brick, you know, just put a cedar roof on it.
And again, this is from 6 years ago, the changing lake level, I think maybe I'm not sure, but a question to ask at this point, would that give any variances to how the project will be done, or anything along that line, because
We're actually,
water level's so high right now.
yeah, we're actually above the 100-year floodplain for the structure, so that hasn't changed. So that helps as far as permits with the Corps of Engineers and so forth. But right now, lake levels wouldn't affect, other than probably more pumping during construction, probably. But, and again, the construction is coming from the land side, not from the lake side.
So,
That point, that was something we had talked about years ago, okay, that we were asking you all to bid it both ways and see what the numbers fell, because it's the village's preference that it would be in the water. Understanding that's more expensive, but the track flow, we were concerned about the impact on the road and stuff.
so your structure is, even with the rising lake levels, you guys are good with your structure as far as what's there protecting it right now?
Yeah, the issue we have is the parking lot.
Okay.
Right at the lakefront, the overtopping of the existing shoreline structures definitely wreaks havoc on our parking lot. But as far as the facility itself, I think I've seen water maybe up to the door, but it never affected our pumping operations. The storms do affect us because that's when ComEd tends to lose power, and even though we have the two ComEd feeds, I think they both come down the ravine on a similar route. When a tree falls, it'll tend to take both lines out.
Have they seen the plan on showing up everything?
Yeah, we gave them
Okay.
copies, copy, Brian, I gave a couple of copies
Okay.
as well. Tom, you talked about before moving forward authorization from this board or village board. So if you were to proceed, or you would want to wait to proceed and do any review of drawings until you had authorization conversation from park board, village, the village process.
Well,
How
therefore,
do you envision your board from a timing?
yeah, our four trustees, I think, would be supportive of the project. We'd have to do some arm wrestling. They all have different constituents they report to, so, but I think that we're all, very aware of the issue protecting this structure, first and foremost.
So you definitely want to hear that the village is on board, the park district's on board before really.
Yeah, because three of the members had been with the district for the last 10 years. So they've been down this road. They go, hey, we're ready to go, and then it didn't proceed, so.
Okay, thanks. Just want to understand it.
So Lake Forest have a backup generator as part of their system?
Yes,
It's just enclosed, so I think.
it's enclosed, right?
The pilot riding exercise has no impact on the bluff or the integrity of the bluff.
No, we did do, geotechnical engineering we took soil borings, at the site, and I think we took a couple on top of the bluff too, so there were definitely considerations and concerns with the proximity of this structure to the bluff, yes.
Did you want to say during the master plan stage, I know Brian, Tom, we all met down there, and they, at the time, we talked about the building and the ID and the importance, and that was, we were going through our master planning at that time, our concept plan. They were just, we appreciated at that time, that really helped, and just understanding the needs of the village and residents and all that, just the look and the feel, and so we appreciate that back in. So when you see the master plan that's in your document, that was based on collaboration and conversations with them, so, that was a good dialogue that we had. We're very respectful of understanding what the building looks like today, how it can look in the future.
So I realize it's a several-year-old plan, but was the original plan to retain that building, to stress it up, or?
It would be to retain the building. This would be replaced with a masonry wall that would enclose it. Probably similar, if you go down to Rosewood Beach, we have a generator exactly like this one right off the roadway, and it's a precast, concrete, architectural wall that encloses that, so it's a similar concept with this here. There would be a structure to divert flows to the facility in front here. That would be also masonry structure as well, so, but it would get rid of this fence and, the cabling that's visible going up the side of the building, these types of things. And as Tom mentioned, I think we did discuss maybe dressing up the existing facade of the building some manner too.
Did Lake Forest get a new building?
Did they get a
And a new, like, their brick looks so much nicer than this.
I think there was an addition put onto that building that when they did the entire lakefront, fact, that southern pavilion is hardly ever used, and that's when they kind of took about half of that building and added on and tried to match, and then I think they took that split face block and they wrapped it over that.
I think that was done in the early 80s.
Yeah.
That wasn't part of our project. Basically, what we did is a new parking lot, a new roadway coming down, and then we provided some new water infrastructure at the site of the city.
Brian, what you guys also gonna do, restrooms?
We talked about that, yeah. It's something we talked about, I think there was a facility south about, I think we did look at actually.
I think it's right in front where the bush is, there, looked like there used to be vending machines or something over there.
Yeah, again, our plans were 95% complete, and we never did, really sit down with the park district and village and nail down what specific features to incorporate, so that certainly is on the table again.
What would be the cost of rebuilding the station here? You said that you didn't plan to do that, but that's not part of your plan, but what would be the added cost to redo that and to make it disappear underground, for example?
make it disappear underground.
Yeah.
I'd say hundreds of millions easily. It's the logistics of what you do with the existing building while you're trying to redo something, you don't have room to put a pump station next door to it while this one's still in service. So I think that's probably more logistically a hardship than even the cost would be, but it'd be very, very expensive.
Other questions on the board?
What were you envisioning with the extra landscaping? You mentioned something at some point, you guys thought about putting some extra landscaping. I know you talked about the fence around. But was there actual, like landscaping and plants and?
Yeah, there was some, I think the preliminary design had some trees and shrubs or whatever, and, again, that would be subject to working with the park district and the village, but we did plan to have landscaping associated with the facility as well.
I was just thinking maybe we can use landscaping to soften the eye and soften the building.
Yeah.
Since it's so stuff right now.
Again, I don't want to throw Brian under the bus, but he's an engineer. So he likes the exposure of pumps and I think we can work to kind of accommodate the aesthetics of the building. I mean, I'm very sensitive to that. I'm a builder, I'm a developer. I get it.
You want see-through windows, so you can see everything.
Yeah. I think it's cool to see all the pumps and pipes.
Other questions from the committee before I ask for comment from the public?
And you saw the proposal by AECom as well.
Yes.
So with the scope of this project, would it be feasible to do that if we were to go ahead with the AECom project? Would it be feasible to do both at the same time, or is yours?
No, I think that would be a good idea. I think that's maybe why it wasn't done in the past, just the disruption, but, when we sat down with Raj, like, if there's gonna be a major disruption with beefing up the shoreline, it'd be an ideal time to do this project at the same time. And I don't know if this would be construction from the lakeside or not, but, certainly major construction, it's better to get everything done at once. Logistics, just so there's not contractors tripping over each other. I know at Lake Forest, the footprint was fairly small for construction, so they staged a lot of the materials, didn't show up in the site until they were absolutely needed to go in. So, but, yeah, I think it would be a good way to approach it is if there's.
That was 270,000.
270, okay.
Yeah, that was a 5.2 grant. The pier was number 8. That's 390,000. That ranked 3.2. So that's obviously, it definitely helps to a certain extent in terms of this region, and it's a impervious structure, so a little bit with the beach here, but it's really all about getting access out to the water. It's a part feature.
Number 7, the cost, could you just, sorry.
So number 7, the cost is 1.07 million. And that's in deeper water, so the waves are bigger, stones are bigger. Good amount of stone in that structure. And this is so wide here, it needs to have critical mass for it to really move on. It also takes some stress off of this guy.
So from a practical construction method and so forth, based on what you know, do any of these as prioritized couple together better than others from a bidding perspective or construction? If you're going to pick 2, maybe you pick 1 and 3 because they're more similar or something, or is it all the same and it doesn't matter if you're only able to do half of this?
So, and the answer is yes. So this was the first step. So the next step was to look at each cells, because it makes sense to attack a cell. Spreading out the construction over a wider area. So you're not disturbing as much beach. You might be able to keep some of the beach open. As well, these structures work together. Right, so this one kind of works alone. sense because there is a lot of erosion slowly marching back towards this area. You got this anchor and this groin exposed now. You're losing the native clays underneath, as well as the problems down in here. The second beach cell was the north, and again, that was primarily to protect this area. And the fact that it has had issues in the past and showing some signs during the high water. And then the third was the south beach, obviously this structure here. So yeah, I mean, it does make sense if you're gonna do a cell to concentrate the construction in one zone. It's, you know, it's more efficient for the contractor and less disturbing for the community.
And it wouldn't make sense to do, like, we're up in North Beach, it wouldn't make sense to do what was ranked as number 3 at South, Breakwater, and then not do the north one, correct? I mean, like, those are sort of working in tandem, so if we only did one of those breakwaters, then it wouldn't really fully fix the issue up in that section, correct? Am I correct in thinking that?
That's partially true. Let's say you only have money for one structure. And let's say that was number 1, for sake of argument. Putting one of these in is not going to solve the problem completely, but it's going to reduce it. So it's going to do something really significant. They work better in tandem, so you don't get 50% of the benefit by doing 50% of the structure, because they do work together. When you create this gap, when a wave comes through a gap, it spreads into the space behind it, and the waves drop. If you only put one side of it in, you don't get half of that, but maybe you get 40% of the benefit or something like that, depending on the interpretation.
Questions from the committee? Any comments from the audience? So the committee, how would you like to go forward here? Would you like to establish some baselines, like, you know, are we willing to do just one structure, or are we looking at this in wholesale units?
I guess I can provide all night. Just taking this all in, thank you, and thank you for the presentations. I'm more a little lost, it's not a positive word, than I was when I left last meeting. And so looking at, I would like to have some discussion of, when I think back to the pool and the pieces of redoing the pool and the parts and what the community would gain, cost versus benefit. I think, we're in a situation like this, although a little bit more dire in our greatest asset, because nature is working against us, whereas a pool, when you don't have a pool, you don't have a pool, right? So looking at what the community needs, where their opinion comes in, as far as even the aesthetics, whether there's more restrooms, where the garden is, all those pieces that I think sometimes can be felt by a community, even more than just the structural piece too of saving the bluff, looking at that as a whole package. And then I'm not sure, after listening to, where does, if we don't do the whole basin piece, what is the effect of that? I don't know, then, I heard if a pipe breaks and, all of that, but if we don't do anything there, I guess I don't know the urgency of doing that or not. And so that's where I need a little more information when you weigh the whole cost of the whole package. So that seems like then we're at 9 million and about 6 or 7 million if we were to do everything here. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's what it was. So look at the whole number. What was the whole number?
47.
It's about 5. So thank you. That's there.
Okay, that's what I was.
That's not our cost is
Maybe, right, the idea that
that's where I guess I need a little more clarity of where, you know, all these costs. So I appreciate where each of these costs, you know, you don't do one side or the other and, the pieces to it, but also what is felt by the user, which I think will have importance to everyone, as well as just the importance of the you know, the just geology and the loss that we need to incur.
So I think one of the things, and obviously we can tweak this if we want, but, I think, you know, sort of the park district's purview to focus more on the aesthetics and the, you know, some of those other things. I think our charter is erosion control.
Okay.
Which is why when I fooled with the model, I didn't overweight the aesthetics, I overweighted the technical side, because it's erosion control that we're after. And I think, from my perspective, I'm not in here, my thought was we make our recommendations in terms of priorities and then recommendations about funding to control erosion, and then you later on the aesthetics of it, the rest of it should be that sort of thing.
We have some data, I can look for that in 2013, we had a lot of public forums, different surveys that were done that ranked different assets, so I can go back to that, it's been a while, from an aesthetic standpoint. And at that time, we really weren't talking about erosion control, lake levels were down, and that's probably just, fortunately, we didn't take a look at what would look like with hydrate levels. So I might have the aesthetic piece down the road, but.
And then I have one other question. So I'm guessing too, from listening to the timeline, we're looking at something where the 2022 season would be lost with the year on either side, or are we looking at 2023? And where are we on, is that, you're not in there?
I'm saying further out.
Okay, so 2023, 2024,
Well,
and that worries me too with just the,
yeah.
you know, the erosion control piece.
You're talking about so many other parts, and Paul brought up the word recommendation, I don't know what the recommendation would be too, but we haven't even talked about, who this would be a recommendation to, is this a recommendation to the community, to the village?
The two boards, the park board.
And the whole aspect of where it would, the financing come from. So, I mean, obviously, there's a timeline for the the virtual order reclamation, there's a timeline for this, and sort of the concept of, do we feel a need for it now? Is this going to be something that needs to be put on for a greater period of time, knowing that it's like the 2013 project, they didn't address it then, it's still a need. Is this going to be a need 10 years in the future, or is it going to be a need 3 years in the future?
You want to go back to the sense of urgency, so maybe we can get a better understanding of the sense of urgency of what's happening in the beach, like, if it takes us 2 years to get everything rolling, is that going to significantly impact the look and safety of the beach, the Bluff, or do we have some time?
Yeah, so that's something where you want to keep an eye on, basically. We have a record high level occurring, and this spring is projected to go over the record through April and May. They project 4 or 5 months in advance. So this spring is going to be worse than the last 6. So is that going to last for 2 more years, 5 more years, or is it going to drop precipitously in 2 years? So it's a statistical question, you don't know. So if it's not going to be done, as with any asset, you just want to keep an eye on it and look at the relative condition and, address things that have to be addressed when it becomes obvious that you're hitting the critical point. So this study is being done at a point when problems have happened, but you don't have any disasters happening out there. It's been relatively manageable, so it's showing the strain. And each year, if the levels are high, it's going to show more strain. And if you happen to have the combination of the high lake level and an unusual wave event, then you're probably going to see some erosion because the levels are so high now that it doesn't take during a big storm, the lake level itself will come up 2.5, 3 feet, 3.5 feet, just pushed in the direction of the wind, the depth gets that much deeper. So you get much larger waves that get in much closer to shore. So you want to keep an eye on it, and we're in the critical time right now, so we're having the acid test with the lake levels that haven't occurred since the 80s, and so you want to keep an eye on it. And you will have some time to react, so if you're going to see something happen before you Bluff scale, you'll see it coming. And you may, at some point, you might have to do an emergency measure where you say, hey, for the next 6 months, we better get our planning and permitting done, we better plan on doing something in this location.
I think our urgency is where we see, for example, the dog, there is no dog fence now, in through North Beach and Central Beach, and the weather, the storms have been hitting the beach more and more fierce and going down after every storm, so that's where we're definitely getting concerned, and so we see on the Central Beach, backing up, what's going to where the playground is, and possibly the total Bluff, so, I don't know how long that's going to take, but I think you said something interesting last time, which is the strength of the storms are potentially going to be a bigger impact. So, I don't know how to answer your question to that, but we're seeing some impacts now, definitely, and it's going to impact some events.
So we're tasked though, with a report to both organizations. And then funding, it is what it is, right? It's not, that's the two boards to determine what the next step is to.
I don't feel ever be able, I mean, unless someone's
Someone's
running
running
down
giant
that,
check, right?
Yeah, I mean, my thought was to take a look at it, obviously that's very fluid, I mean, there's obviously a conversation to be had with the North Shore Water Reclamation District, but my thought was to at least do some high level recommending, such as, we're gonna do a bond, see 20% of the funds from the state government, just, can we set some very high level targets for how we think this all will function?
With someone else's money.
So I guess.
Well, then we should just do it all, right?
Yeah,
So,
so,
yeah.
so I think the issues out in front of us are pretty simplistic. One of them, when are we gonna do something, what are we gonna do, and how are we gonna pay for it, how are we gonna do it? I kind of thought about dealing with a what, rather than the when, but maybe rather than step back and is there a consensus among us about, is this something we should initiate now, knowing that it's several years out before it happens, or, is our recommendation we proceed, is it proceed with something?
I'm fine doing proceed. I guess my feeling on this is that, it's the biggest asset we have in our community. And, based on everything I read with the lake levels and the erosion levels and what I'm hearing Ron say, it's gonna take us a year or two to ramp up anyway, so I don't know why we would wait another year to say, oh, now we should get started. I think we would want to get started and see how far we can get down that path and what we can do as quickly as possible. That's just my information.
At least on priority one, which seems to be the Central Beach, which seems to be the main, to me, the main beach everybody goes to. It's not my favorite beach, but, for example, if you add the numbers up they gave us excluding the pier, it's $1.8 million. So do we say, that's priority one, we need to focus on getting that done? Because the South Beach, if it's 3 or 4 years till we do this project, the South Beach is gonna be in shambles anyhow. It's going to create a whole other issue on the South Beach. And I don't think it doesn't sound like we can afford to wait 5 years and just wait around and see what happens. So I'm kind of with you that, I think we need to forge ahead on something that protects the biggest part of the beach we can protect to get started. And ideally do it all, but I'm not sure that's in the cards, financing standpoint.
So Central Beach is like 1.3 million, and so the conversation is to,
Well, it's 1.8 if you include those, 4, and that first one on the south yellow on the north beach really kind of is the central beach, because it's protecting the building and everything.
This right here.
The next one north.
go further north.
That one there. That's protecting the guard shack and the structure and everything
So
there.
from here to here, Bob?
So if you add those 4 yellows together, that's about 1.8 million.
That's.
I'm just throwing it out there as a start of the discussion.
And it'd be interesting to see the history, how much of that was covered before by the reclamation district, because it clearly portion that protects them.
So, the thought is start in Central Beach, and Bob, you're saying to take that southern structure with the northern beach and include that as well.
Because I think that's, according to what I've heard, is protecting that central beach, the buildings there.
But not the $800,000.
No, maybe 800. I mean, to me, that would be a second priority, because you could always come and do that, even if it costs a little more down the road from the water, and not close the beach down to do that, because it's really not impacting anything to do with the beach up there.
That was the point where we're going to bring that
But that, yeah, I'm also thinking about timing, to your point, of what can we get done now?
So,
But if,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you look at it, I mean, again, we don't know about financing at this point. So
Right.
if you look at it and start off more holistic or more comprehensively and saying, let's put it this way and see what we can look at with financing, and then see where we have to narrow it, rather than saying, let's just look at central, see if we can come in.
Oh, I'm all for doing it all right away. I'm good with that.
So absent knowledge of funding, it's going to be a joke. The proposal on the table, from Bob, and if I stated wrong correctly, is to do, the 4 structures, with the idea that it protects our most valuable asset, it closes the beach. If we do something further north, it doesn't necessarily impact the beach. So I guess I got this in 3 buckets. One is 4 structures that you said. The second would be the northernmost structure.
And the rubble pile, that would be another million.
Yep.
So, and then the third would be the south,
Right, okay.
to do it in pods like we were talking about.
Is everyone comfortable with that? Give us your opinion.
I think that's a good grouping, but I do think we have to look at financing to see, maybe we can do 2 or 3, whatever, not to really, priority and the grouping makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
So I agree with that. I would say it would make sense for us to report priorities and then put the facts tag those priorities and then the groupings separately, because someone else is going to decide financing, someone else is going to decide what happens and what doesn't happen. So I think as long as we're clear on both those points.
And I think that if we ask, like, the voters, the folks from the yacht club, different, would be different, but they're
Right.
not represented, so. Why should I say?
But it did come up in the third, it has come up as the third priority on all the rankings we've done. I'm not trying to editorialize that, I'd rather, my point is, I love the South Beach, I'd rather see that get done first, but that isn't what the rankings are telling us to do. The rankings are telling us the South Beach is the lowest priority.
And just to be clear, we would say, like, overarching in the perfect world, we'd love to do it all at once.
Correct.
But if that's not an option, then these are how we prioritize everything based on where we find the impact.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So we've got a ranking, and we're gonna see what of it can be, funded, or at least on the high level.
And then overlay the sequencing of how not to close the beach down, for example, 2 years in a row, to do that project, and this project would be a disaster. It would be a PR disaster.
So virtually all this work we're discussing sits on Park District property. The village's only property is where the pumping station sits. So all the funding theoretically is Park District work, and your borrowing limit is far exceeding, could do all this required by running.
We just had a budget meeting, I mean, that'd be a whole nother meeting, I mean, we had a long meeting last night, and had some forecasts of 5 years, looking at all the capital, we had to look at all the capital, which your committee did, and the task force. So we're holding a February planning retreat, so we wanted to hear from this group some recommendations, like priorities and things like that, so that they discuss it in the February meeting.
I'm saying, the law prevents you from going out and borrowing $5 million.
No, actually, we do have room.
Okay.
We do have room. Yes.
Can I ask a question to the group? Is there an appetite in the group for the pier and park as an enhancement to make this feel better to everybody versus all structural, or are we leaning toward pretty much all structural? And it's a question.
Just to back up on, I would like to see whether we can, I know this is kind of sky, but whether we can look at doing almost all of it. I don't want someone to look back and be like, that committee of 2019, why didn't they do, if there's a cost gain, and I'd like to know that too, the benefit of doing this all at once. It's just such an asset, and even if you're only 40%, that only protects 40% of the Dog Beach. I too am a South Beach user, I would like to see that, and that looks very expensive, that 1 million down there too, but I think it's a whole part. And I'm concerned about the road and the whole erosion piece. So the piecemeal it, I think we can, sometimes people say, well, we're not gonna go for the whole thing or not, but what is the cost benefit gain of doing it all and protecting the whole asset beach? And then to answer your most recent question, I think that would add on to it, that wouldn't be as much of a priority as protecting, but, I think it would make it more just appealing to the town if you also added some pieces of just user quality.
Anybody else have a comment? I'm not a fan of the piers. And I'm sensitive to what you're saying, Gail, about trying to sell it to the public, and I don't mean to be insensitive to that, but.
No, the pier health, yeah.
For me, it's an expensive proposition, assuming that money is going to be good, so. The other piece of it, obviously, is understanding what might happen. Is that infill option? Is that a viable option yet? We get participation from the North Shore Water Reclamation District, and if you actually bring that out, you need a pier now. In other words, you've got another amenity you're offering a larger area to enjoy the beach, and so it's a pier needed if you do something as close to this. So.
I would actually love to see that done. I think that would be beautiful, but I also feel like it's really expensive, and we have other things that are more pressing for. So I think that putting some aesthetically pleasing structure, not structure, but greenery and park.
You mean the park? You're
Yeah.
talking about the park?
This
Oh, yeah, it'd be very cool.
I mean, I think that
I'm
would
with
be
you. I'm
beautiful.
struggling with how to prioritize and justify that.
$1 million+, and I guess if I was going to put $1 million+ in somewhere, I'd rather put it in South Beach, because I too love that portion of the beach, so.
Yeah, I leave the rubble for that piece. I'd be like, can we throw that rubble in the water and have it be part of our stone? Fairy bottom,
People right now decorate it.
sneak it down there.
In just past experience with friends of the park board, people, obviously, we all give a very different feel for our aesthetic beach, and everyone's going to have a different opinion as to whether yours is, if you put it out to the community. People are going to say, oh, we would love to have the park, or oh my gosh, it's going to change the whole face of what like Long Beach looks like, and we would never do that because it's going to change. So, I think it's more of a cost factor that would be part of something to do with that.
Well, and the one thing is just being on the park board for 10 years, that park that's the kind of thing that young families talk to me about. It might help sell fixing the erosion. Like adding something like that might be like, gosh, all right, we'll have to do the erosion, but at least we get the pier in the end. Something like that, you know, it was like the big pool without a kiddie pool.
Mhm.
And that was a big discussion, and it was like, should we really add the cost of the kiddie pool? And we ended up adding it, and the referendum passed, because the young families wanted the kiddie pool. And some people said, don't add it, it's gonna add money, and we're not going to pass it. So there's a lot of different ways to think about the psychology between somebody going to the polls to vote for something.
I will say the board has not discussed referendum, hasn't gotten into that, it's just really trying to understand.
But at this level, it likely be a referendum.
We don't have $500.
Right. So it'd be,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, and
So-
it should be, I mean, if this is a 100-year benefit.
Right, so, but to Corey's point, that is very thoughtful of what makes it appealing. We're fixing structurally, but what do you see other than your plumbing and your walls is better? I hate doing those projects at home, because it's like, I still get the water, everything's still the same,
Absolutely.
but if you would have at least put a copper pipe in or something to show me, but, so, yeah, so that's interesting. What was the park cost on that? We had everything but the park part of it? I can't remember, I could probably find it, so.
It was 370.
Yeah, the pier overload is 390.
Well, that's the pier, I was asking about the fill-in.
Yes. I'm sorry, it was, for 1.5 million.
For the fill-in.
Is there a landfill light?
Yeah, it's called New Orleans. It's below sea level.
So Joey, to your point, and board members are no better than I, right, there's another whole faction that you talk about a pair and where to go. It's, you know, I'll say the Bluff that you're putting fancy stuff in there I never used for beach kind of thing, so it's a tire for walk, right?
Of course.
Right.
So where do we want to come down on the pier option?
Personally, I think we prioritize the pieces and the data drives the priorities, right?
So where would we rank the pier though? So basically, we said priority.
So it came out number 8 already.
Yeah.
And so then is the park number 9 and the pier number 8, or vice versa? I guess that's the only question.
I don't know if this factored in under variable analysis, but the pier, the park version, the landfill version provides something that the pier doesn't, and that is a safe transition that's out of the
Yes,
parking lot,
yeah,
right?
I'm much more, there's so much good about that.
Do we have the, we're looking at, periodically, do we have the side view of what the park looks like? Because I think they were showing us before, and that was, you get perspectives.
Good website.
It's in,
Mayor, just more at the end.
Yeah.
It's the other way out.
Yeah, so it's very, very important thing to look into is to how that would change the.
Ron, 43?
Yeah.
Further buffers.
Very,
Facilities.
Yeah, we have talked about that too, with the park being a way to go from one beach to the other. That's one of the parking lot.
And when it was first brought up, some people said they liked it because of the transition look to it, some people said, oh, it blocks your view of the lake.
Yeah, like there was a pushback saying, it's a, you lose the vista. So you can't be on the south beach and see over to the north beach because it's higher.
Can you do that now?
Well, I tried to do it, don't like it.
No, you really can't.
Right.
Can't see a parking lot.
Yeah, you can see the parking.
So with regard to the pier, we're willing to leave it at 8. Is that correct?
Or it goes to 9 if the park goes to 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought the park, I was saying
All
the
right,
park.
so the park is 8 and the pier is 9. All right.
Okay?
All right, so we've settled on the what, we've done a little bit of the when, so next up, I guess, is the how. Are we good? Anything else that we want to cover?
Out of curiosity, Brian, does the park number 8, is that somehow for the district protection it may provide with a higher wall around it, steep wall, if you will, around, is that more beneficial to the district than the pier?
Well, I think it moves the shoreline further away from our structure.
That's a yes, right?
Yeah.
And you can have employee functions there, we'll let you do that. I mean, you can come anytime you want.
North Pine area.
North Shore water reclamation, recreation,
Naming
and
rights?
water reclamation.
Brian, I think I asked you a question about borrowing, just so I understand. If there was, can borrowing happen for other agencies through that? So could the Park District go through the IEPA and for district waters?
It's strictly for wastewater agencies.
It's
for
okay,
wastewater
that's
products.
Okay, I'm trying to look into that. That's kind of where I was going last time, I wasn't too sure.
There may be other grant programs or water resource programs.
Yeah, well, thanks. That's what I was looking for.
Anything else, Drew? All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Accept the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Good luck.
We're gonna need it.
Lake on to do it concurrently. And I know one of the options was to, look at our base, maybe taking some of this excavated material and using that for a fill material. I know that we looked at as an option.
Your $9 million budget, I assume, doesn't include anything for additional shoring up of with the rock or anything around it. That's
No.
just the structure.
Yes,
Okay.
it's just the basic construction.
Okay.
Anything from the audience?
Well, I do want to thank you on behalf of our board for contributing to the report today. That was a big thing, the erosion control report, that was greatly appreciated, because we were looking at the fill, and that was a good collaboration to be able to take a look at that. And, so we appreciate that, the board and staff, and I know on behalf of the board, so thank you for doing that.
Is it helpful for Bill to have any comment on their plans, projects, how you see that maybe dovetailing with what an outline of the series of improvements you included in your preliminary analysis?
Yeah, so since that, it's a finished product, this project is unseen and has no influence really on anything that's being done. It's more about, the dance during construction, both are happening at the same time. It would have to be, phasing and sequencing would have to be worked out, but there's really no conflict between the two projects.
There's no kind, is there synergy?
There could be some synergies, and obviously, the destruction, for example, to not have it spread out over a longer period of time is worth a lot to the beach, obviously.
Two different contractors, though, in terms of skill sets, are they the same?
They're different skill sets. These beach projects are primarily stone handling and hauling in sand. So there's big excavators involved. They're not excavating that much. It's more about placing stone. It's done from barges. Some of this probably would have to be done from the water, but a lot of it could be done from land. And normally, given the paucity of contractors that do that kind of work, we'd like to try to bid it both ways to get more competition into it. And this site is conducive to land-based construction. The land contractors have shown they can be competitive and underprice the water folks, especially now the quarries have consolidated, and with all the demand on stone, especially at the high lake levels, the cost of waterborne construction has gone up dramatically. There's very few contractors, and the good stone is owned by, most of it owned by one company now. It's consolidated on the quarries.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
I gotta pick up the daughter at the airport.
Thank you.
So next on our agenda is discussion regarding the prioritization of the projects in the econ report. Thought it'd be helpful if Bill would walk us through the projects again, so that those are fresh in our mind and mind of the audience as we go through the prioritization scheme.
So yeah, I guess the impetus, which we talked at great length about last time for the project, is the erosion and paying attention to the site before problems develop. And we can see, especially with the high lake levels we've had the last 5 years or so, we're starting to see erosion that does extend down to the subgrade soil, so the good clays that are beneath the sand. So it's important to pay attention to that before you lose the clay, because the glaciers put that material in, it's very stiff, and man can't recreate that kind of a geology. So we have had erosion problems out there, and we talked about the reasons why before, so I'm not going to get into that. So the options we came up with, it breaks down to 3. One is a baseline option, which has construction to enhance the beach to solve the problems that we identified on the site, potential problems and actual problems. Then there was an expanded base option that had some features that were things that would be wanted, things out of the master plan that had come up. And then thirdly, there was a focus on the North Shore Water Reclamation area to see what potential work could be done there to solve some of their problems, as well as to expand, to use some of the fill coming out of the excavation for their reservoir beneficially right nearby by expanding the land in front of that building. So we kind of explored, is there a win-win situation there? So first we'll talk about the base option. And for the South Beach, we've got a 105-foot extension of the breakwater. The issue here had to do with the wide gap and how far out the structure is in deep water. That actually encourages large waves to come in and work their way around. So it's very difficult for the beach formation. This cell is doing okay, except for this structure is getting a little bit tired, and the erosion is coming closer to the toe of the bluff. No big problems as of yet, but so a need was identified to do something here, so we've extended this breakwater to reduce the gap, knocks down the amount of energy that can get in here, and allows this to be a more flatter slope and provide more protection and maintain this in good condition. The center area here by the Water Reclamation District, obviously there's the parking lot problems you were talking about. So there's talking about a buttress here, a stone, a little bit higher, a little bit more absorbing with the wave energy. This steel groin is degraded. It's corroded to the point where it actually has holes in it. As well, the waves have direct attack onto this structure, so it's not providing protection in this corner as much as it could. So the project includes a buttressing that steel with stone, recognizing that the steel is degraded to the point where it's not going to function anymore in the future.
Brian, didn't the Water Reclamation District construct those jettings out there, and specifically in front of the facility, and then the 2 to the north, or all 4 of them?
The one in front of the pump station and then going to the north, and I believe several of the ones even north of there,
The district did.
back in the 70s.
70s. So I think you had mentioned at one point the shelf life of these was about 50 years or so. so.
It depends on the steel. So
Yeah.
we've seen some of them well over 100 years old, and then others after 30 years they'll degrade. So these are doing okay, but this one in particular it takes a lot of stress first of all, which doesn't help. And I'm not sure what type of steel or the age of that steel, but it's struggling.
Some research into that, the files there, like the bid requirements at the time had the US grade steel, and that they used US steel.
Yeah, so it depends, do they pick, is the steel thick enough?
Right.
There's a number of factors that
Yeah.
weigh into what they do with that.
Sorry, Drew asked a few questions. So some of this work prior was water reclamation, did it even further up and down the shoreline from, not just directly in front of the.
Correct. I think the literature or the correspondence back then, going back decades, was they were concerned about wave action coming in from the north.
Yeah,
Sorry, one other question, I should have asked this earlier. The water that feeds down to this pumping station comes from where? What geographic area is that?
The sewage?
Yeah.
It's the eastern part of the village, it's specifically Lake Bluff, Green Bay Road roughly, the Continental Divide going eastward.
And not outside of the city limits itself?
So on these, what we call the central beach, these two beach cells, the key problem here is again, the wide gap between these structures. A lot of the wave energy, especially the orientation of the shoreline here, the waves refract in and have pretty direct attack in this area. And we saw a lot of erosion into the clay underneath the beach sands up here. Recently, as well as historically, there have been those type of problems. And as well as the wave overtopping up in this corner of the building here. So this improvements in these yellow coated structures are new stone structures essentially. This is a new breakwater, and then this existing small stonework would be expanded out 45, 50 feet. Again, these gaps get smaller, the amount of energy that can get in is less, so the waves diffract, they're smaller when they break on the beach, and some of the waves will reflect off of these stone structures to give us that added protection. On the north half of the central beach, again, it's just really this island improvement. So it's all about the waves that are getting in. We have pretty good protection right here. The waves have a lot of access to this part of the beach, so that's why the focus is there on the central beach. On the north beach, key issue here was this structure, the restroom building. Historically, has had issues, and there is some erosion going on over here now. So we have expanded this structure, as well as proposed a structure on that south steel groin, again to significantly reduce the wave energy that's coming into this area. And then finally, there's a bunch of rubble over here. I believe down here, yes. It was old concrete piers that had degraded, and people put that material up against the bluff as an erosion protection method, which it's done something, but it's also an attractive nuisance, especially in a park environment. So the idea is to clean that up and to take care of the nuisance.
Another question for you. So there's an old plan from 100 years ago in Lake Forest. They're literally going to enclose the whole beach. And so why even gaps? If you're going to do work, why wouldn't you just, or the Yellowstone proposal, why wouldn't you just enclose it entirely?
So then you would
Take
have
a kayak out in the lake or something, right? But
yeah,
it's what to protect.
the aesthetics of a full enclosure. You'd be staring at all stone offshore, as well as the water body would be somewhat contained. So you wouldn't have as much transfer of the water. The water quality might not be quite as good. It wouldn't look as much like a beach as it would a harbor.
Yeah.
So you could obviously provide a lot more protection
Steve's, office here in Lake Bluff, was a map, and it was an enormous stone arc, and they were big enough to sail small boats inside, and that was very close. To protect the entire bluff, and have zero issue about redoing that. The fracking waves are.
The North Beach, the section that has the two, stone, maybe adding two stone great towers there. That's currently our dog beach, correct? That's just the beach where folks bring their dog. So does the addition of that stone, how does that impact the rest of the beach going down? Because I know that there's the way the sand flows and what have you. Does it help how much does it help the beaches to the south?
So it primarily will help this area, and it will be pre-nourished, so the sand will be brought in, so that we're not taking sand out of the coral drift. So this beach area will grow a little bit, and that will provide protection for this building structure. So that's really the focus of these structures, is more this side than the dog beach side. The dog beach is still going to be, it's going to have more granular or cobbly type of strata on the beach. It's not going to be as fine as sand. So it'll continue to be a rougher environment, but it'll be better than it is today, and it'll provide some protection against the erosion and the potential ultimate potential damage to that building.
To the point on the North Beach, could we protect that similar to how we did on the South Beach, where we've got the big stone along the bottom of the bluff? Can you protect that building that way rather than building out into the lake? And I'm just thinking from a cost standpoint.
If you wanted to allow erosion to slowly continue over time and just put a revetment up against the building, you could. You wouldn't have a dog beach at some point, or it would be a smaller dog beach.
No.
So this is just a way to be compatible with the rest of the beach.
Oh, I understand. We're trying to figure out, this is a big number we're looking at, so I'm just trying to figure out if there's other ways to get at it.
It's about redone on something like, my cursor, something along here.
Yeah, well, along that whole South Beach, we've got those huge stones along the base of the bluff. That's protecting all the way along there. And I'm just thinking, if we're gonna, for the dog beach, if we don't get much benefit as far as turning into a real beach or anything, and we're trying to protect the building, can we protect the building for a fraction of the cost that we're putting those two structures out there? So,
Yeah, I mean, that's.
since it's not, to Joy's point, since it's not really helping the beaches downstream from it, it's just about protecting that building. Can we do that at a lot less cost than $1 million+ or whatever is for that particular cell?
Yeah, so that cell, if you were willing to give up essentially the function of the beach, then you could do.
The dog beach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How close, I'm sure you mentioned it at some point, but how close are we to the clay toe in that portion of the beach? Like, how close is the clay toe, is there any erosion with the clay toe right there that would necessitate where we would say we want to really keep the waves back? It's really important.
So the toe of the bluff is about here. Now, the way the sand is shown, it's not showing the existing condition. So this is an enhanced beach condition associated with these new structures. So the actual sand is much closer to the bluff in this area right now. And so the bluff is right there. So when you say the clay toe, the clay in the bluff continues underneath the sand. It's flatter. And when the erosion happens, it usually starts with the beach, and it erodes beach sand and then the clay under it, and that progresses toward shore. Eventually, if it gets to the bluff, then you have real problems with the bluff, which is happening fast in this area.
I guess circling around this area, we're going to spend $1 million+ on dogs, I think is an underlying question here, but I understood the answer before tonight, and I think you're saying that there's more going on there than just protecting the dog. We've got a building and we've got a block that will eventually be affected if we fail to do some of these things.
Yeah, this is working with the existing structure, so these are not inexpensive, but and working with the fact that we have protection already. And so we're supplementing it. And the combination of what's there plus these additional structures will give you the long-term protection for those buildings.
Does a footpath that comes down the stairwell, does that continue through that zone as well?
Yeah, there's the path is right through here.
And we still have the beach that's further north of here, towards the pier, correct? And that's not being addressed at all.
There's no beach really north of here. This is
Well, it's all gone.
couples.
But that's still all part of
Yeah.
your property, and that's not fundable at this point.
We didn't have put in charge.
Right.
Yeah, eventually you would end up with stone, that's what's done in the north here, where it's a big stone bed with the water right up against the toe. Right, so I mean,
The
that's
other
always,
thing, this may be fair to say, but, is, I think preserving these structures is somewhat independent of specific use, so this may not, 20 years from now, be a golf beach. We'll be going to that. So I don't know if we equate, saving or spending in relation to its current use needs to buy something.
Or do you spend $1.5 million to save a building that's worth 20 grand?
Yeah. At one point, we talked about that last one, far right, top one, we were talking about removing that one, because it's really the left one, the second one that's protecting the shelter, anyways, right?
well, they both do, because you're creating a small water gap here, and a lot of reflection of waves. The big waves are coming in from the northeast, and they refract in. So this is blocking a lot of that wave attack from getting on the beach, as well as this one. So it's really, both of them. Now, you don't necessarily have to build both at once. But the idea here is you have a beach, which is, it's an asset. And if you don't protect it in the long term, you're gonna lose that asset. You're gonna have to put a revetment or build a major beach structure to accomplish the same thing. So this is a compromise. What kind of structure do we have to build to have an improvement here that solves this long-term problem and maintains the fact that it's a beach? So the other option is just let it keep going. And like you say, put stone here. Well, ultimately, you're gonna eventually lose that beach. And that stone may have to extend all the way along here to protect this bluff, because the bluff.
I agree with that, the bluff for sure, there's no question on that.
But also has the road development as well, right? The roads are gonna,
You gotta protect the bluff.
I don't want the nomenclature to override what we're looking at, because we're calling it a dock beach, we're saying we're spending $1 million for docks, that's gonna totally defeat the whole thing. We're looking at our beach, and just.
And the bluff.
And the
And
bluff.
protecting the bluff.
And just because we're calling it a dock beach now, that's how it looks.
Well, in truth, people use the dog beach, it's utilized all the time, so just because it's not a beach where people are laying out or what have you, it's still being utilized. I think I was just trying to understand how much erosion is actually happening. So that answers my question.
I won't throw a wrinkle into, you're talking about the building, is during 2013, in that master plan, we talked about should the guard station maybe almost be in front of where we're talking about the bathrooms of the North Shore Water Reclamation District? And does it make sense, and should that be more centralized? That was a little bit of a conversation back then. So it's always something to think about in terms of, I know it's about protecting that building and the bathrooms and things like that, but that was a discussion back then, is do you move where you place the guards? So, it helps or hurts, but.
Irrespective, my position would be we'd like to maintain the beach there, and certainly want to protect the bluff for the visibility there.
Mike, I had the same question last time, so just north of there, so I've got acquaintance, a friend whose property's up there. It's a replacement house of the house that was there before. The house that was there before, the bluff must have lost 30 plus feet of the land that had been before. What's left of the fireplace is precariously hanging on that bluff. So if the folks north of there haven't taken steps either. Doesn't that, you know, the clay's worn away and that part of the bluff just keeps falling away? How do we protect from doing all this work if someone north of here hasn't protected their share of the bluff? Doesn't the wave action and they're just coming around behind everything we built here anyways? And we have to coordinate with them as well if they're not.
Yeah, so we are working with, two properties up there right now. The one that's right next to where the stonework is done. They've got a pretty serious situation going on.
So those property owners don't address that, or one does and the other doesn't, they're not coordinating, then, you know, waves don't care where the property line is, if one's done working out the other.
Well, it'll be a local problem first, right, and then properties.
I'm saying it already has, it's already been 20, 30 feet plus of the bluff that's gone.
Yeah.
Was there not that long?
Yeah, a lot of those properties, they do have tow protection. It's not classically designed, it was dumped, old road construction, concrete, rubble, and so it's not a formal protection, but it is protection, so it's really slow things down, but they have problems.
Maybe it's there's a different type of protection, tow protection versus, yeah.
Dave, is it concerned it would negate the work that would be done, that because there's a lack of work to the north, that a domino effect would occur regardless of what was done?
Obviously, right, if they lose 30 feet and lose another 30 feet, and no matter what we have, then we suddenly have water behind it.
Yeah, and so you're saying it would be a local problem first, but then it could manifest in something bigger.
Yeah, and you do have enough protection between the properties that do something and the ones that don't. It's rare that you'll have a property that is going to lose 100 feet, but it's 150-foot wide property. At some point, the erosion will stop just because the neighbors have protection. And in terms of does it affect the beach here, not really, because the currents are coming south. And in fact, anything that's eroded off that beach becomes a source of potential sediment. And most of these bluffs are clay, so the amount of beach compatible sand in these bluffs is maybe 5%.
I'm not asking about the beach, I'm just saying, look, if there's no beach whatsoever and no one's protected the bluff, and their bluff keeps eroding away, sooner or later north of us, if it erodes 50 feet back, then it's an issue for us.
Well, it would take a long time. So we just looked at the McCormick State. They have a 120-year record on their mapping. And the average erosion there is probably about 1 to 3 feet a year over 100 years. So it really has been 300 feet. So I guess if they had 300 feet of erosion, you would see roads disappearing, all kinds of problems before it came to the beach. The beach is far enough away. That's not going to happen in several lifetimes. Those properties are pretty far away in a geological sense. And the amount of erosion that would have to affect the beach. And it doesn't change the wave climate. Whatever happens up there is not changing the wave climate that much down in this area.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the beach, I'm talking about the bluff itself, right?
Yeah, the bluff.
Well, the bluff loses 3 feet a year just north of us, then 10 years is 30 feet.
This bluff is well protected. There's a nice stone revetment that the park district put in there on the core. And then north of that property, like I say, that property has issues and they're more actively working to fix that. And then there's a ravine north of that, so there's quite a distance before. And I'm familiar with the property you're talking about, the fireplaces all over the edge. And that neighbor is actually, we're building something for them next year. So people are starting to look at it, and like I say, there are spotty properties that are not going to do anything. But it'll be a long time before anything up there would ever have an impact here. So I guess, now we'll talk about the expanded base option. So this one is very simply items out of the master plan that were wants, not necessarily a need. So one item was this area here, there's overtopping of this stone revetment and erosion on the beach. So this is simply a stone buttress in this area to address that issue. And then the addition of a 110-foot long pier and an overlook that goes out into the water some distance. So we put that on there as an extension of the master plan and to roughly cost it out so people could see in a global sense if you're gonna do some improvements, you know, are these worth considering the mix or something to be phased in over time? So the third thing which we talked about was the, working with the North Shore Water Reclamation District. This excavation is gonna produce a lot of earth. So we looked at that to see, can we use some of it? Unfortunately, we can only use a small amount because any fill that goes in to create this landmass that's below the water has to be stone. It's gotta be a small crushed stone, to above the water line by several feet. And on top of that, you have this smaller choking stone. And then above that, you can put, like part of the layer cake can be filled from this structure. But the soil coming out of there, a lot of it's saturated clays. So it's not really compactable, or would have to be extremely conditioned in order to be reused, and wouldn't be practical. But looking at the soil borings, it looks like there is some amount of that fill that potentially could be used as the fill, which there's not a huge need for fill in this area, because most of this is stone, small stone materials to get above the water, large stone materials on the lake edge, and then there's a small amount on top of that. So there is some, but it's not a huge amount compared to what has to come out of that excavation. So if this was done, there can be all kinds of debate about is that a good thing or a bad thing for the park. Obviously, it creates more space, but it's probably a better connection. Instead of walking through the parking lot, you would have a way to connect the two beaches. There's questions about how high you go with it. Does it block the view from one area to the next? So it's really just an exercise in exploring an option that people can start to talk about and see if it in some way could be a win-win between the water reclamation project and the beach project. So it's in there, there's rough costs tied to it, and so it's there for discussion.
Bill, Brian, and at any of those facilities of the district, is there any sort of recreation or any other amenities offered that's really purely utilitarian?
Utilitarian.
Okay, so the other issue, we probably should go back to the base option slide. Question about phasing, sequencing, do you have to build it all at once? You know, of course you don't. But if you didn't build it all at once, what do you build first? So we went through this process of evaluating the priorities through a matrix. We talked about this at the last meeting. And the matrix basically tries to compare literally each structure, each one of these structures, parts and pieces. And then it comes back and it says, okay, well then let's look at the beach cells, the south versus the central versus the north. And if you're trying to rate what is the most important and what has the most need for being restored, how would you do that? So we built this huge matrix where the first thing you can look at what's the relative importance of stakeholder issues and technical engineering issues. So you can weight the matrix that way. So we had started out by saying, okay, the technical and the stakeholder issues is 50-50, equal weight between the two. Then within each of those two categories, we have subcategories for ranking. How do you weight the scores? So the categories that we have, the stakeholder categories are property damage. In each one of these categories, we end up scoring between 1 and 10. Eventually, weight the scores and we add them up. So stakeholder issues are property damage, infrastructure impact, public safety, and beach aesthetics. Engineering issues are beach erosion, severity, and rate, erosion of the underlying clays at the beach, wave intensity reduction, beach improvement potential, long-term maintenance concerns, and value engineering and logistics. So it's just a big chart, and you put scores in each one of these categories, And then you determine the relative weight. For example, if you feel like beach aesthetics is more important than public safety, you have to decide between, and I think the weighting factors go between 1 and 2. So in this case, we had beach aesthetics was a 1, public safety was a 1, infrastructure impacts was a 1. So we're not seeing in the stakeholder category, we're seeing pretty equal concern with all these categories. Property damage, we had 1.1. On the engineering side, again, erosion severity and rate had a higher weighting factor of 1.2. Erosion, where we have underlying loss of the native clays under the beach sand, we rated that higher at 1.5. And all the other ones, we initially started out with about a 1 factor. So it forces you just to think through what's most important. And these are just our initial guesses. So we gave this matrix to the park districts, and they've been playing with it, and we've actually done some pretty creative things with it. I noticed that Ron had
I don't want to take credit for it.
Ron had somebody run, I think, 8 or 10 or 20 different scenarios. Was that Paul? Did that? Yeah, it was very, very well done. And tried different kinds of scoring to see how did this initial ranking, because this ends up coming up with a rank for each one of these structures, which one's more important than the next if you're going to build them in order. I think Paul's conclusion was, after he tried all these different factors and weightings, that the original ranking pretty much held, no matter how you look at it. And it kind of makes sense, because when you're, no matter how you do your weighting, when you're scoring, you kind of know where the problem areas are and where you should be focusing your efforts. But this activity forces you to really think it through, rather than just go with your gut. And then if you have different groups in the community that are complaining about certain things, and they want to go through this process, you have a quantifiable way of having people weigh it. So the way this turned out, if you look at the baseline option, so for the, I'll just march through these structures. Ron, if you go back to the base option. Okay.
That's it.
So I guess I'll go through them in the order that they were ranked. So the number 1 ranking was in the Central Beach, and it's this breakwater here, this breakwater extension. This is ranked at an 8.9. These are scores out of 10. 8.9, number 1 rank, and the cost of this is about $740,000. So you don't have to remember these numbers, but so I'm going to give you those numbers for each one of these, so you can just get a feel for what a breakwater costs, what a revetment costs, and what's that relative to its rank and importance. Okay, the second ranking one was this extension of this very, very small amount of stone on the end of the steel. And this steel, by the way, is the anchor steel exposed from erosion. So this ranked number 2 with an 8.6 score. This is about $460,000, and it's about a 45-foot expansion of that structure. So number 3 was this structure here, North Beach, 65-foot breakwater extension. This had a score of 6.8. So again, thinking in a relative sense, this was 6.8, this was 8.6. Out of 10. Cost of this is $570,000. And these costs, by the way, they have pretty large contingency built into them because of all the unknowns with pricing. The stone market, for example, we used to get stone bought, trucked, or barged and placed for $60 a ton. This goes back 10 years ago. This year it's $214 a ton. So there's a lot of unknowns and uncertainty. If the lake level drops and the price is going to go down, they should, but they don't have to. So we had that, we tried to build that in. So the fourth place option was,
What was the cost of, sorry,
North 570.
So even the middle one was
or 60.
yeah, actually, the one that ranked fourth was this rubble cleanup. And that, the rubble cleanup is gonna be one of those things where you just decide, when do we wanna do it? It's not really, you don't compare that against a breakwater construction. It's a smaller dollar amount. It's really just about when you have the funding and when you think it's the most important to do it. So the one that ranked number 5,
What was
this
the
one.
cost of the rubble?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, what was the cost of rubble cleanup?
I think we had,
Well, Bill's looking for that, so the exercise I did was basically go through and take each of the variables and well, the first thing I did was go through and rank the technical issues at 75%, aesthetics at 25, and then I ranked technical at 100 and aesthetics at 0. And then I went through each of the 6 technical areas and the 4 non-technical areas and just doubled the weighting for each one individually. So I didn't change 2 things at once, I just changed 1 thing at once. And when you go through that exercise, the rank of 1, 2, and 3 never change. 1, 2, and 3 never change, and the ranking of the cells never changes at all. So the ranking of the cells is very robust. What does begin to change, though, is this 4th one we're talking about now with rubble removal. The heavier you weight aesthetics, rubble removal is high, it's 4. If you devalue aesthetics and put a higher priority on the technical side of this, then that ranking drops as low as 7. So this one is real sensitive to how you look at it. The first 3, not sensitive at all.
Paul just answered the questions I was to ask you. If the only ranking you gave was based on the risk to the bluff and erosion, and you said, all right, what's first, second, third, fourth, is it roughly the same? Aside from rubble cleanup, if you said, all right, we have one project next year to do, what is the most dire need to protect the bluff? Can you rank them that way, or is that possible?
so technically, all these projects ultimately influence the bluff erosion. So this one, of course, you saw the damage, probably pictures of the damage there historically. So that's important. Right now it's hanging in there, there's some erosion going on. Same thing with all these, by creating this beach potential, you spend the energy of the waves on the beach instead of on the total bluff, which is going to heat it up real quick.
So I understand that, but is there a second that's need is more dire than others, or there?
So I think that comes into consideration in this ranking.
Well,
That's
to
important.
your point, Dave, the Central Beach has a 10 rating on the severity and rate. The South Beach and North Beach both have, or the North Beach has an 8 and the South Beach has a 5. That's a huge difference because they're heavily weighted. So if you tweak those a little bit, that could flip the North and the South Beach.
If you, got this, but if you put 100% of the weight on technical issues and 0 weight on the aesthetic issues, I think is what you're saying. Basically, the only 2 rankings that change, so the first, second, third fifth, sixth, and eighth lanes don't change, so if we go to the summary. So the tab that we're looking at says variation two. So in variation two, we've reduced the aesthetic stuff to 0, and we put 100% of the weight on the technical issues. And if you scroll down, you'll see the column on the, it says AECOM original, it's the original ranking, and you can see the only two scores that change. So the breakwater on the South Beach goes from a rank of 7 to a rank of 4 as you diminish the aesthetics.
Right.
And in the North Beach, rubble cleanup, not surprisingly, goes from 4 to 7, because we now said we don't care about aesthetics. But everything else remains the same, which to me gave me a pretty good feeling that this is a pretty robust way of looking at it. Things variables aren't flying all over the place if you change things.
I would certainly do the South Beach before I do the rubble pile. I mean, just from a standpoint of our committee sitting here on what we're gonna recommend. I have a hard time saying we cleaned the rubble pile and we didn't do anything on the South Beach. So, and I know the costs are different, I get that, but,
Yeah, the cost of the rubble pile, we still just plug a number, 200,000.
right.
Because you don't know, it may be hauling the material away, may not be reusable, and you may have to haul something in its place, depending on what else is going in down there. So you just kind of plug the number as a placeholder. It's a bit of an unknown.
Are you gonna continue then? So the 200 for the rubble, and the far north cells, which is number 5 then?
Yeah, so number 5 is the far south.
Far north.
Far north. So this structure right
Yep.
here, scored 5.3, it's the 5th rank, and that's an $800,000 structure. And again, this is more about creating this to protect this area as well as the total block to keep that stable. Number 6. Yeah, number 6 was the expanded base option.
Yeah, that's in the pier, which I, again, have a hard time putting that ahead of the South Beach.
That was addressing this area right here.
When you devalue the aesthetics, does it still stay at 6? Or the
It
buttress?
still stays at 6, yeah.
Interesting. So there's technical value.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah, there is, so the reason this got some weight to it is because there is a steel, exposed steel over here, the original groin, which is a bit of a hazard for, people walking on the beach. You don't see the top of that steel. That was part of it, and that is affected by the overtopping and the erosion here. It's part of it. The rest is because the beach itself is regressing a little bit. So the pier, I originally had it at 7, but it was 8. That was a transposed number. So number 7 was the South Beach, this breakwater here. And the key thing with that is you don't want to lose its toe on that block. And that's all
Well,
it
could you
takes.
build the rating on 6 and the cost on 6? Could you just,
So number 6, again, was the 80-foot buttress.
right,